So, welcome to the first official episode of the Sommeliers Blend. Today we're going to be talking about a few wines and regions that are really close to our hearts. The regions we grew up in, where our origins from, and really what brought us into wine and some of those first original memories of wine.
So of course with Sommeliers Blend we're gonna have a lot of different content. Sometimes we will visit the winemaker, sometimes we will visit some wineries, wine bar, restaurants. Today it's like a specific podcast. It will be like region in the glass, so where we're gonna present some different regions. I think today the best option is to share the regions where we're coming from. And of course most of the time that's where we got our first memories with the wine. So today we're gonna start with some white wine because today it's lovely weather, it's warm and we want to refresh ourselves. So as you probably already noticed, I'm from France and I'm from the southwest of France, more specifically. Here you can find the beautiful label. Of this wine. So I pick a wine from Jurançon, which is a really small area, not the most well-known, but a beautiful wine that, my first memories are really linked to that kind of wines. So it's a beautiful appellation, 1,000 hectares, so not like the biggest one, and it's part of the southwest area. So first I will talk a bit about the southwest, which is for me one of the most, nice one, one of the most underrated region in France because it's really unknown and for reasons, because it's really complex and hard to really understand everything about the southwest region.
And the southwest for me and Australians, it's so unknown. Only just in the last few years is it really starting to come to the Australian market. So not just is it's something close to Gustav's heart, but it's something really interesting that we thought we'd share.
I think it can be really interesting for everybody. Like for sommeliers, there is some really specific wines which make them special. Of course, as I said, when I think about Southwest, for me personally, I can think easily about Jurançon because I'm really from the biggest city, Pau, P-A-U, where the wine is produced. And Jurançon is the name of the appellation, but also the name of the village where the wine is produced. There is in total around 20 villages who can produce some Jurançon, but Jurançon is the biggest one with Monin. But in the southwest we can produce a lot of different wines from the red, the sparkling. Some of the first sparkling wine in France have been produced in the southwest. There is also some nice rosé. At the moment, 50% of the production will produce some white in the southwest, and then let's say that this region is also highly influenced by Bordeaux. Of course, even if Bordeaux is in the southwest of France, we don't consider Bordeaux as part of the southwest region because it's way too big. It's like a region itself. But one of the biggest area in the southwest will be Bergerac, and it's highly influenced by Bordeaux. First with the grapes variety, when you can find some Merlot, Cab Franc, Cabernet Sauvignon. But then there is also a lot of specific areas. I will not precise all of them because there is a lot of different appellations, around 20, and they are all really specific. And I hope in the future and in the next episodes we will go deeper in these regions, but today it will be more about Jurançon. But I think the history also of this region is really interesting and pretty rich. So you have to know that for the climate, Southwest is a really wet place, also with a lot of sun, so it's warm and wet, so which is perfect for the grapes in general. So there is a lot of indigenous grapes variety. One of the most famous is probably Cabernet Franc, which is originally from the Basque country.
You're proud of that?
Yeah, pretty proud because it's one of the most grown grape variety in the world. But also two other grapes variety which is pretty well known, Malbec, which is now produced a lot in South America, that you can find now in France, in Cahors of course, but you can also find it in the Loire Valley. But originally it's really deeply from the southwest. And same with the Tannat. Of course, Tannat now in France and in Europe stay really in the southwest of France, but same in South America you can find it, and it makes some great wines. So pretty interesting story, but why it did have been spread like that? It's back in the 12th century around with Saint-Jacques de Compostelle, with my beautiful French accent. How would you pronounce Saint-Jacques de Compostelle?
I'm not even going to try.
Yeah.
Saint-Jacques.
Saint-Jacques.
That's it.
So, you know, it's like this famous place in Spain where a lot of people still today are going like to make this trip. And to go in Spain, like all over from Europe, you really have to use this pass in the southwest. So a lot of people were traveling in the southwest, and on their way back, they were taking this grapes variety like Cab Franc and Malbec, and they spread it in the rest of the France and Europe, and make it famous also because they tried it and they liked it.
And it's super interesting to see, I think, almost that journey and voyage of some of these grape varieties. I mean, Malbec especially in Argentina, but also Chile as well. It's so famous now, but as you said, in the Loire Valley, you might see occasionally Côte, which is
COT, which is fun because like originally, I don't know if you know that, but for most of the people, Côte is really linked with the Loire Valley, but it was like the first name of the Malbec,
Yeah.
even in the southwest. And then, especially in the South America, they call it Malbec. And now in Cahors, they say Malbec because it's more well known. Which is
Yeah.
a bit sad, I think, and I know that few winemakers now use Côte again, even in Cahors, which is fun. But yeah, like big historic in the southwest of France with vines and production. To talk just about Jurançon quickly, it's also pretty well known because one of the French king, it's like the wine, he have been baptized. You can say that, right?
Baptized, yeah.
Yeah, baptized with some Jurançon. So it was like the wine of the king. I know that now
Our dream.
we say that for Yquem,
Yeah.
but like the
And
Jurançon back in the
Barolo as
day
well.
have been renowned for that, for the wine of the king and king of the wine. So for Jurançon itself, it's really well known for the production of sweet wine historically. Today they are also producing some dry wine in the appellation, and I would like to say that for the production is around 50-50. A few years ago with a good friend of mine, Sean, we visited the Jurançon by bike, and you have to know that it's really hilly because we are really at the foot of the Pyrenees. So yeah, it was a good weekend, but pretty intense for the wine and for the legs. But it was a beautiful visit, and yeah, most of the winemakers they told us that now production is around 50-50 dry and sweet wines. There is only 5 grapes varieties which are used in the Jurançon, but let's say that 90% of the production will be represented by Petit Manseng and Gros Manseng. So it means small and bigger Manseng, which is like and it sounds really southwest for me.
And you see a lot of, at least here in Melbourne and Australia, a lot of Jurançon sec.
True. Yeah, because now I think the market is really influenced by the dry wine, and we can see it like everywhere in the restaurant, but at home, less people are drinking sweets. It's not like the mod anymore.
Which is sad sometimes, I think, but
I completely agree. There is some really high quality sweet wines which can be really interesting for the pairings, not only with the desserts, because I think it's a shame to always speak about dessert wines, because sometimes some sweet can be great with some, it can be like with Asian food, it can be with some starters, it can be even like itself for the aperitif. And the thing is like with sweet wines, I think we do have this deep idea that it's too rich and too heavy, and it has to be the last wine of the lunch or the dinner. But I think when it's well done, and that's why I like Jurançon, it's because like the backbone of Jurançon is like the acidity, the freshness, the leanness, and something really zesty. You have to know that when it's sweet, it will be really around the tropical fruits that we can already smell. Here we are with Jurançon sec. So like for the legal way, the appellation Jurançon will always means sweet wine with at least 35 gram of sugar per liter. And when it have to be right on the label Jurançon sec to have something dry. So here today we are trying a Jurançon sec from Jean-Marc Grussot in 2022 from Camille Laredia, which is one of the most well-known and beautiful production, organic and biodynamic production from Jean-Marc Grussot, and a beautiful expression of Petit and Gros Manseng. For the dry Jurançon, it will be mainly some Gros Manseng with sometimes a bit of Petit to add like a bit more aromatic. And so to talk a bit more about these 2 grapes variety, they are well known to have a really thick skin. Thanks to that, it can really resist to the rots, and which is important for the sweet wine. It's like we use some passerillage, so some passito style in English. So there is no botrytis. So give like a lot of freshness and something really ripped.
And do you
it
want
will-
to say what Pasito is? Explain a little bit about
Of
that
course.
process.
So there is, to be completely fair, there is two ways to make some pasito. So it's the process will just let to dry the wines, to dry the resins. It can be do on the vines or like on clay on the side. For Jurançon, it's always on the vines, which is really interesting. So sometimes you can visit Jurançon until like even the beginning of January. I'm sure that at the moment there is still some wineries because today we are the 28th of January. We can still find maybe a few grapes in Jurançon, which is pretty insane. And because, I mean, here of course we are today in Australia and we do have a perfect weather. Now it's the summer, but
yeah, it's nice and blinding. But
yeah, completely. But beginning of January, it's like pretty cold at the moment in my home region. But you can still find few vines and it's still like drying and gives something so intense. I had like few cuvées which can be incredible. Like at the beginning of January, you can find crazy wines in production. Yeah, I definitely love these wines. Maybe we can talk a bit more about this one. What do you think about this wine, Flynn?
And I think it's really interesting what you said before is that backbone of acidity. And I think a lot of the people listening might not have tried Monsan or Petit or Gros Monsan. And just this flavor where there's this complex layers, but also this high acidity. And what that really means to me is that on the nose, it's very sharp, it's light, it's bright, while still holding a lot of layered complexities.
Yeah.
And for me, it's that white lily, little bit of white lily on the top, which is just so elegant.
It's some beautiful wine, really complex. For me, it's definitely, especially the sec Jurançon, the dry one. It's really some gastronomic wines.
Yeah.
Because of course you can enjoy it, and that's clearly what we're doing in Southwest. We can enjoy this wine for the aperitif, but also like some high cuvée, like Jean-Marc Grussot with Camille Laredia. Definitely you can find these wines in like some really fine dining restaurants in the Southwest, but now even in Paris and in the rest of France.
Yeah.
And I think sommelier in the world, I think we can say it, are really fan of that kind of wine. A bit like the Chenin, which is now really well known in the restaurants because it's so interesting for like food pairing, and you can make such like creative pairings. I think it's the same with Jurançon. Always a beautiful value for the price too, like for the Chenin. Because it's not that well known, there is not the hype that can have Chardonnay from Burgundy, Bordeaux, or Champagne, or whatever. I'm almost sure you don't know that much the Petit and the Gros Mansin, and you can find some great wines, really fair price, and yeah, it's really rich. I love the complexity of this wine because yeah, the freshness will always be the first thing that you smell, but you do have like such an aromatic.
It's just so on the nose.
Yeah.
And I think us as Soms, we always lean towards these slightly more individualistic wines where they have the capacity of, with the acid and with that good bone structure almost, to stand up to a lot of food, but it still has all of this sort of width and aromatized sort of feelings on the nose and in the palate, and the length can be fantastic, I think, with food. So I think we get really excited about these sort of wines.
Completely. You have to know that, of course, you can use some oak aging in Jurançon. Some of the people are using some, not always, because like already thanks to this acidity and like to this backbone, you can keep these wines for a while. For the sweets, it's well known. Of course, you can keep some Jurançon moelleux for like a really long time.
Yeah.
For the dry, it's a bit less well known, but you can also have like wonderful dry Jurançon that you can keep for 5-10 years. And the thing is, like, I don't know if you feel it on this one, but I think there is a bit like, not all of them, it's like for the Riesling, but sometimes you do have a natural oxidation taste with like some Chenin too, with the Jurançon, which is great also for the food pairing because it brings like a deepness in the wine and such another strata of complexity, which is beautiful. And yeah, thanks to that, you can really keep this wine for a long time. This one is 2022. Now we are already in 2025, so it's not so young. And I mean, you know that you can keep this wine for a few years.
Very long time.
It's really beautiful. Yeah, beautiful wines that really deserve some reconnaissance, I think. Of course, as I said, it's like 1,000 hectares, so it's not so big. The production is not so big, but it's like, it's fair. But of course, you can't find these wines everywhere. I mean, this one, I found it in Melbourne, I have to say. So to a beautiful wine cellar that you know well. If you want to say a few words maybe about it.
We went there Prince Wine Store in South Melbourne. Absolutely fantastic. store that stocks some really interesting stuff like this. And thanks to some distributors like Mosaic Wines, and Thomas over there does some pretty awesome distribution, but Prince Wine Store is really that place where you can walk in and you can get your top tier Burgundies, you can get your aged Sauternes, you can get your run-of-the-mill Cloudy Bay Sauvignon Blanc if you really do so desire, but you can also get some really interesting stuff like
Completely, really classic, but also a bit more unexpected wines. And yeah, first time that I went into this shop, I have been like so happy to find two different dry Jurançon. So like already to find one, it's something pretty lucky, but to find two different and to have the choice. The other one was Domaine Castera that I visit back in the days during my trip with my friend. Beautiful winery also. I would prefer to talk about Jean-Marc Grussot because he's also one of the étendard of the flag from Jurançon, and he's making like some really high quality wines, and he really deserves to be a bit more well known. And yeah, I really hope that in the future the restaurant will all have at least few cuvées of white from the southwest. It can be Jurançon, but it can be Pacheringue de Vic-Bilh, which is also another small appellation using mainly the same grapes variety. So it's like in the Madiran area, which is pretty well known back in the days at least, using some Tannat, but on the same area you can produce some Pacheringue. It's like the small brother of the Jurançon.
I know I've got a few questions. I'm just going to show the bottle again, but if I did want to go to Prince Wine Store and pick this up, what would it set me back? What would the damage be if I wanted to buy something?
So for this bottle it was 65 bucks. The Castera, so the other choice for the Jurançon, it was a bit cheaper. I think it was around 50, which is like for something really unusual, I think a good price. Of course, if you can find some, and if you go soon in France, you will find some cheaper prices.
Yeah.
But I mean, for someone from Europe, all the wines are a bit expensive, you know, about the taxes. But I think, like, if you want to change a bit, if you have a nice dinner and you want to bring something else than Chardonnay from Burgundy and just like something a bit more unexpected, I think you should try a Jurançon sec. Of course, you can also enjoy the Moelleux, the sweet wine, if you want a Jurançon, the sweet Jurançon. They also got some, and you can really enjoy it. So let's say that for the pairings, the really classic pairing from Jurançon will be to enjoy some or dry or sweet Jurançon with some foie gras.
Yeah.
So it's not that well known, but like, yeah, the foie gras is coming from the southwest of France. So, I mean, the first thing that I learned when I was at school is like the local pairings always match, always. So foie gras with Jurançon, it's something like really old and really classic, but it's the first one that we have to talk about because yeah, it's really classic.
And I think some of that, a little bit of that oxidative style can be fantastic with this. The acid matches with fat really well, at least for me, but also this oxidative really accentuates that quite opulent style of
That's for
foie gras.
sure. And even sometime when you prepare the Jurançon, you can make it macerated with some port or with some Jerez, and sometimes it can be really cool, like to have that kind of pairings. So historically, it was more with the sweets, because as you said, like sweetness with fat always pair, but same acidity with the fatness also work.
And I think you're seeing that more and more in, as we work this, as people lean away from sweet wines, now they go to this sec style. This acid with fat is becoming a really cool pairing.
Also like the minerality now, everybody's talking about minerality. For me, it's not the best example, I have to say. You can find minerality more with the Chenin or with the Riesling. Here, because it's so fruity. That's what I like. For me, it's like a mix of everything that I like. Of course, the leanness, but then you have something so fruity, rich, and gourmand, which is like a really French name, but there is no really translation in English, and it's really the definition, like something so feel good. It's rich but not like too heavy. It's ripped but not like not too much neither. It's
almost like this measured, as I said before, this opulence. And I think of foie gras is very similar. You get little bits, and it's not too much, it's not too heavy, but it's just perfect enough to really enjoy something without it feeling a little bit too overwhelming. And I think with some wines, it can be a little bit overwhelming. And I had one more question for you. You said this would set us back around $60, $65. In terms of what you're getting for $60, what would that, I mean, if you're looking to pick up a Chablis or a Burgundy, what would you even, I mean, can you even get a Burgundy for that price?
I mean,
Melbourne.
especially for this quality, because what you have to know is here it's Camille Laredia, and I think it's literally in the top 3 of the winemaker in Jurançon. So now it starts to be really well known, and Jean-Marc Grussod also have been. He just received a prize for the best winemaker of the year 2 years ago. I think if it was 2 years ago, maybe 3. So it's also like part of the best winemaker. You can always find some cheapest wine,
Yeah.
so around like 30, 40. Here it's like the top of the quality. And like, as you mentioned, Chablis, for the top of the quality, yeah, no, you will be more around 80 or 100 bucks. So yeah, I mean, yeah, as I said, like the quality for the price is like a perfect match. And also it's like, I mean, I don't know any wines who look and taste like Jurançon. It's like impossible to find something. It's like unique, a bit like the Riesling. I know that Riesling, it's not for everybody. It's a bit like, it's a bit less versatile maybe. But yeah, I think it's a beautiful wine to discover at least once and like to see if it's on your taste. It's mine. I hope it will be yours in the future.
So thank you for that, Gustave. We had touched a little bit on Jurançon and that pretty amazing and beautiful region. Now we are moving on to Victoria, something really close to my heart. Now, as Jurançon's a very, very small, not small, but a very select area that grows not too many grapes, Victoria is the opposite. It's the size of France, basically.
Even bigger, I think.
And I think the diversity, this is going to be questionable to say, that the diversity of climate and grape varieties is probably just as much, if not more, of France. Now I want to touch on a few areas, notably the Mornington Peninsula, Gippsland, Macedon Ranges, and Yarra Valley. But we'll start off with what we're drinking. So I'm going to bring it up. This is Wildfire Wines. Very, very, very small producer out of the Yarra Valley. This is their single vineyard Iona. And when I say single vineyard, it's maybe 5 rows of vines, which are no longer existing anymore. So I believe this is his, a good friend of mine, John Harris, his last vintage. He was somewhat of a newer winemaker that was very, very passionate about wine. And you see this a lot within Australia. People who take up winemaking as a real passion rather than sometimes a family business.
Of course, so that's one of the main difference I would like to say between Australia and France. It's like the historic, of course. In France, we are one of the oldest country producing like some wine and like few hundreds or even like thousands of years.
Yeah, for a lot of these regions like Victoria, obviously South Australia and New South Wales are a different story. You're a very older state, or you're an older estate if you're at 50 to 75 years.
But the important thing is, as you said, the patient. And yeah, in France, of course, we do have like this history, but now the appellations are really strict, and it's really tight. You can do whatever you want, and I think it's sometimes a bit sad because you can't do whatever you want. And in Australia, you can do almost everything.
And for an example like that, we touched on Yarra Valley, but a producer like Mount Mary can make fantastic Cabernet blends, their Quintet and Triolet, but can also make really, really, really individualistic expressions of Pinot Noir and Chardonnay that now cost an arm and a leg, similar to Bass Phillip, but a really, really, really fantastic wine. And, a few days ago, I worked with Gustave, opened up the 1990 Magnum format of Mount Mary's Quintet blend, and
Beautiful wine, still a lot of energy.
really, really amazing. And as Gustave, you said, we tasted a few weeks ago a 2000 of the Mount Mary Quintet, and was it maybe 4 or 5 sommeliers at the table? All of us said we went Bordeaux.
Yeah, I have to say big Margaux because it was so elegant, so floral. So yeah, for me the term was really elegance because it was not like the richness and the intensity of Pauillac, but like it was so floral, so nice. Like the tannins were soft. It was perfect. And then Jimmy just like pull out the book. Hi guys, it's Australia, and wow.
Yarra Valley.
I will remember the face of Matt like for a long time, I think.
Very Matt for reference. Hello, Matt. We miss you. I wish you were here. We just tried to record this and ended up not being recording. So we miss you having it the other side.
On our side.
Oh yeah, on our side, exactly. But more about the wine that we've got in our glass here. It's from the same region as Mount Mary in the Yarra Valley. This is what we would call real plush light Pinot in the Yarra Valley. Now this is a great variety that is grown all over the world. You see it in France a lot, but also in Australia. It's probably one of the big three, the Shiraz or Shiraz, Syrah, Chardonnay, and Pinot Noir.
So of course, for you, just like listening and watching, could you just like describe this wine in two words?
For me, this, as I said, it really encapsulates Victorian Pinot Noir, but also especially Yarra Valley. Light, almost this brass, where it's really so light and beautiful, but it doesn't got the jamminess, but not the weight to it. And I think that's something that I mean, with the color, it's quite a pretty nice, a bouquet wine. What do you think?
Also, I completely agree on the berry style, raspberry style, but also what I really like is it's ripped, but with still a lot of freshness. Like the balance is you can really feel like the ripeness of the fruits, but there is not too much alcohol. I also would like to add really these floral notes, like some red flowers, because it's pretty rich. I can even find a bit of a kind of this tonka thing, because there is something really aromatic and like really rich, but bring out.
It really reminds me of sitting at the estate with the wine, where the vines used to be, and albeit enjoying very beautiful French wine, but it's just the environment of sitting outside. There's sun, but in the mornings it's cool, and it's just this really picturesque climate for growing wine. The Yarra Valley, it's quite an amazing place. When we go, well, I'm sure we're going to give it, but when we go together in some of the future podcasts, it's going to be pretty amazing just to show you how diverse it is.
I think it's a good representation again of the terroir. Because it's warm, it's rich, but still pretty humid. You can still feel like some freshness in this wine.
And it's nothing like I always look at Adelaide Hills, that really, really quite ripe side, and even Burgundy has got a lot more fleshiness to it. This is a lot more.
It's more jammy.
Yeah, jammy, but this is
and cooked.
Yeah.
For me, this one is like some, I mean, sometimes it sounds stupid. I say that to the guests, but for me, when you're picking some strawberries in your garden, not like during the afternoon, so strawberries are so warm and they smell cooked, but they are like still on the garden, and you pick them and you eat the so warm strawberries. Yeah. And it's not like cooked, so it's not like caramelized and jammy, but just warm and so exuberant.
And for me, it's that jam on toast when the jam warms up a little bit, and it's just this really, really, really. It's a giving wine.
Yeah, it's a nice presentation. And it's like a book talking about wine. Les Gouttes de Dieu. So it's like God's drops of God. Yeah, drops of God.
It's a big Netflix show as well.
Exactly true. Now it's also the show, but it started the book. And I know that they really like to make some artistic representation of each wine. Yeah. For me, more but the food. This one, it's like clearly a toast with a bit of butter and some raspberry jam on it. So yeah. Long story short, for me, this wine is represented like by a toast with butter and raspberry jam.
And I think, and I was talking to my partner Virginia about this. What we as sommeliers, our relationship with wine is very experience based. I think, and although we can be very technical, we could talk about the oak usage. We could talk about the élevage, the amount of time, the harvest, the foam count, of everything like that. And whilst we can do this very technical side, and we love to do it because at the end of the day, we're both wine nerds, we're fascinated about all of it. I think an amazing thing that we want to share with you is that more experience-based relationship with wine. I mean, for me, as I said, it's this, look on the nose, it's this almost walking around in the morning in Yarra Valley after it's rained a little bit in the night, and there's almost just this wet, earthy, but also light and jumpy freshness in the morning. And this jumps out of the glass to me really, really well. And I think over the next few months and however long we do this podcast, I think this is going to be a big part of us being able to show you that wine is more than just something you drink to get drunk or something that you want to post on Instagram. It can be a real amazing thing that
it's a lot of feelings again. I mean, when you like to taste in general, it can be food, but also wine. When you really enjoy your taste and you pay attention to what you feel, wine can be like so wonderful. So yeah, just try to find the wine that you like and be open-minded. I think it's the most important with the wine. Try everything. But yeah, just try to find your own wine. It can be from Jurançon, so something really niche that nobody knows here in Australia. Or it can be like classic, more classic here, Pinot Noir from River Valley. Just try everything. And here, today, and in the future, we're going to try to give you some tips and to share our own feelings. It was a pleasure to make this video with you, Plin, and to share that with you guys. And so now, cheers. Cheers. And follow. Cheers.
Oh, it worked.
Please tell me it worked.
It worked.
Yeah.